I had been the night shift caretaker at the gas station for over a year now. My responsibilities included refilling the pumps, cleaning the store, and being a welcoming presence for the occasional weary traveler who stopped for a late-night fill-up. The gas station stood isolated along a lonely stretch of highway, surrounded by dense woods on either side. The darkness of the night was only punctuated by the flickering lights of passing cars or the occasional sound of an owl hooting in the distance. The eeriness of the place had never bothered me before. After all, it was just another night, or so I thought. One particularly cold and quiet night, I was tidying up the store, restocking the shelves, and checking the coffee machine when the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. A sense of unease washed over me, as if I was being watched. I glanced out of the window, but the darkness outside revealed nothing out of the ordinary. Shaking off the feeling, I resumed my work. However, as the night wore on, that eerie sensation persisted, growing stronger with every passing minute. I tried to ignore it, attributing it to my tired mind playing tricks on me. That was until I heard a soft tapping on the window. Startled, I turned towards the sound. At first, I saw nothing but the reflection of the dimly lit store. But as I peered closer, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing just outside, partially hidden in the shadows. My heart pounded in my chest, and I instinctively reached for my phone to call the police. But before I could dial, the figure disappeared. I was on edge for the rest of the night, my senses heightened, and my gaze darting between the windows and the security camera monitors. There were no more signs of the mysterious visitor, but the unsettling feeling of being watched lingered. As the clock neared 2, I heard a loud thud coming from the gas pump area. I rushed outside to investigate, half expecting to find the figure from earlier. However, there was no one there. The pumps were undisturbed, and there was no sign of any attempted break-in. Confused and anxious, I decided to make myself a cup of coffee and stay vigilant until my shift ended. As I stood by the counter, my eyes were drawn to the security camera monitor showing the gas pump area. And that's when I saw it, a shadowy figure darting across the screen. My heart raced as I rewound the footage, trying to get a better look. The figure moved swiftly, staying close to the edge of the camera's blind spot. I couldn't make out any distinct features, but it seemed like a person, perhaps dressed in dark clothing. I called the police and informed them about the strange occurrences at the gas station. They assured me that they would send a patrol car to investigate. In the meantime, I locked all the doors and kept watch from behind the counter, my nerves on edge. While I waited, the power went out, plunging the gas station into darkness. I fumbled for a flashlight, my heart pounding in my chest. The sound of footsteps echoed from outside, slowly getting closer. My hands trembled as I dialed the police again, only to find that my phone had no signal. Feeling trapped and vulnerable, I decided to take refuge in the office, where I could barricade myself in if necessary. As I stepped into the narrow space, I heard a faint whisper coming from outside the office window. My blood ran cold, and I strained to make out the words. "Let me in." "I need help," the voice pleaded, but it sounded off, almost like a recording played on loop. I knew better than to open the door. The police hadn't arrived yet, and something was seriously wrong. My instincts told me to stay put and wait for help. Time passed agonizingly slow, and the sense of dread only intensified. Finally, the distant wail of sirens reached my ears, and I breathed a sigh of relief. The police had arrived. As the officers combed the area, they didn't find any signs of the mysterious figure, and there was no evidence of foul play. They suggested it might have been a prank or a transient wandering through. Despite their assurances, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The sun began to rise, and the gas station slowly returned to normalcy. The police left, and I stayed behind, trying to make sense of what had transpired. As I reviewed the security camera footage once more, I noticed something chilling. The figure had vanished from the screen at one point, as if it had somehow managed to avoid being recorded. Over the following nights, I couldn't shake off the paranoia and unease. Every creak, every shadow, and every noise made me jump. The gas station, once a place of routine and familiarity, now felt like a dark and sinister maze. One night, as I was locking up the store, I glanced over my shoulder and saw a faint reflection in the window, a shadowy figure standing just behind me. My heart raced, and I whirled around, but there was nothing there. I couldn't ignore the feeling that I was being followed. I feared for my safety, not knowing who or what was haunting the gas station at night. In the end, I decided it was time to leave that job, to leave behind the haunting memories and the chilling encounters. As I drove away from the gas station for the last time, I couldn't help but glance at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see that shadowy figure following me. The memories of those eerie nights will stay with me, a chilling encounter that remains unexplained and forever haunting. Let's hop onto story number 2, but before I begin reading, make sure that you have subscribed to Mr. Scare for regular horror podcasts. Working the night shift at a gas station was never my dream job, but it paid the bills. My name is Alex, and I had been stuck in this routine for nearly a year now. The graveyard shift had its perks, like fewer customers and some peace and quiet, but it also came with its fair share of eerie moments, especially on those desolate nights when the whole world seemed to be asleep. One fateful night, as I manned the gas station counter, I noticed a man standing outside under the flickering streetlight. He wore a long coat and a hat pulled low, making it hard to see his face. It wasn't uncommon to have late-night customers, but this man gave me an uneasy feeling. He stared at the gas station as if he were contemplating something. I shook off the unease and continued my work. A few minutes later, he walked in, his eyes never leaving me. I greeted him with a friendly smile, trying to ignore the chill that ran down my spine. "Good evening. Can I help you with something?" I asked, trying to sound as casual as possible. He mumbled something inaudible and moved towards the shelves of snacks. As he wandered around the store, I kept a watchful eye on him. It wasn't just his appearance that unsettled me, there was something about the way he moved, a strange fluidity that didn't seem quite natural. Finally, he picked up a few items and brought them to the counter. I rang up his purchase, and as I handed him the receipt, he looked at me with piercing eyes that seemed to bore into my soul. "You have a long night ahead of you," he said cryptically before leaving. I brushed off the encounter as a peculiar interaction with a random stranger. But as the night wore on, things took a darker turn. A series of unsettling incidents occurred that made me question whether this man was just a strange customer or something more sinister. Around 3, the gas station security camera caught something unusual, a figure lingering near the gas pumps, their face obscured by a hoodie. It was hard to make out any details, but their presence sent shivers down my spine. I called the local police non-emergency number to report the suspicious activity, but they assured me they would send a patrol car to check it out. I tried to focus on my work, but the unease lingered, and the minutes seemed to drag on. Around 3:30, I heard a loud bang outside, followed by the sound of glass shattering. Fear gripped my heart as I realized someone was breaking into the gas station's mini-mart. I immediately dialed 911, reporting the ongoing burglary. In the dim glow of the gas station's fluorescent lights, I saw a group of masked individuals ransacking the store. My heart pounded as I watched them grab cigarettes, alcohol, and cash from the register. The dispatcher assured me that help was on the way, but the burglars were swift. They knew exactly where to find the store's security cameras and disabled them in a matter of seconds. I stayed hidden behind the counter, praying that the police would arrive in time. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, the lights in the gas station flickered and went out. Panic set in, and I realized the burglars had cut the power. The darkness engulfed me, and the silence was deafening. From the shadows, I heard the creaking of the door, and footsteps approached the counter. My heart raced as I held my breath, hoping they wouldn't notice me. Come out, wherever you are," one of them taunted, their voice low and menacing. I knew I couldn't stay hidden for long, so I mustered the courage to speak up. "Please, just take what you want and leave. The police are on their way." My words seemed to agitate them, and they started searching for me in the darkness. I tried to stay quiet, but the sound of my pounding heart felt deafening. I knew they were getting closer. Suddenly, the store's lights flickered back on. The burglars hesitated, unsure of what just happened. This gave me a moment to make a break for it. I ran towards the exit, praying that I could escape before they caught me. As I reached the door, I saw a familiar figure standing outside, the man in the long coat and hat. His presence struck me with dread, and for a moment, I considered hiding again. But I had no other choice. I burst through the door and ran towards him, hoping he could help. "Please, call the police," I pleaded, gasping for breath. He looked at me with those intense eyes, and for a moment, I thought he would turn me away. But then he nodded and took out his phone to make the call. Moments later, the police arrived, and the burglars were caught. The man in the long coat stayed to give his statement, and I learned that he was an off-duty police officer who had been investigating a series of robberies in the area. He thanked me for being vigilant and for reporting the suspicious activity earlier in the night. I couldn't help but feel grateful for his presence at the right moment, despite my initial apprehension towards him. As the sun rose, and the gas station returned to its usual state of calm, I reflected on the chilling encounter I had experienced. It was a reminder of the dangers that lurked in the darkness, but also of the unexpected allies we might find along the way. The night shift had never been scarier, but it had also shown me the strength that comes from facing our fears and the value of remaining vigilant in the face of danger. I'm Ryan, and my job as a night shift caretaker at a gas station was never dull. Most nights were uneventful, but there was one chilling encounter that I'll never forget. It was a chilly autumn night, and the gas station was nestled on the outskirts of a small town. The surrounding area was desolate, with only the dim glow of the streetlights providing any sense of comfort. As I settled into my usual routine, I noticed a lone figure standing at one of the fuel pumps. I glanced at the clock, and it was around 1. Who would be filling up their tank at this hour? Intrigued, I decided to keep an eye on the person through the security cameras while I attended to other tasks. As I swept the store and restocked the shelves, the figure remained stationary by the pump, not fueling their car or even moving. My curiosity piqued, I decided to investigate. I stepped outside and approached the individual, a shiver running down my spine as the cool night air enveloped me. "Hey there, is everything all right?" I asked, my voice projecting confidence I didn't entirely feel. The figure slowly turned towards me, their face obscured by the shadow of a hood. My heart raced, and I wondered if it was just a local looking for a late-night chat or if there was something more to this encounter. "I'm okay," the voice replied softly, and I couldn't discern whether it was a man or a woman. "All right then, just let me know if you need anything," I said, trying not to let my unease show. I went back inside the store, but my mind kept wandering back to the mysterious stranger outside. Why would someone stand by a fuel pump without fueling their car or coming into the store? The unnerving feeling wouldn't leave me, and I continued to glance at the security cameras every few minutes. The figure didn't move, and after some time, I decided to observe from the store window. As I watched, I noticed something unsettling. There was no reflection of the person in the glass of the fuel pump. It was as if they were there physically but not quite present in the world. My mind raced with possibilities. Perhaps it was a trick of the light, or maybe the person was wearing some sort of reflective material. But the longer I stared, the more convinced I became that there was something strange and unexplainable about this individual. I approached the figure again, my heart pounding in my chest. "Excuse me, I noticed something odd. Are you all right?" I asked, trying to mask my nervousness. They turned towards me, their face still obscured, but now I noticed a faint glow emanating from within the hood. It was as if they were shrouded in an otherworldly light. "I'm just passing through," the figure replied cryptically, their voice gentle yet haunting. I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something deeply unsettling about this encounter. I offered a friendly smile, trying to keep the situation from escalating. "All right then, let me know if you need any help." Back in the store, I decided to call the non-emergency police line to report the strange incident. The operator assured me that they would send a patrol car to check on the situation. While I waited for the police to arrive, I kept an eye on the security cameras, expecting the figure to disappear at any moment. To my surprise, when the police arrived, the person was still there, standing as motionless as before. The officer approached them cautiously and engaged in a brief conversation. I strained my ears to listen, but their words were drowned out by the wind. After a few minutes, the officer returned to his patrol car and drove away, leaving the mysterious stranger behind. My heart sank. If the police couldn't explain what was going on, how could I? As the night wore on, the figure remained outside the gas station, not moving, not speaking, just watching. It was as if time had frozen around them. Customers came and went, but nobody seemed to acknowledge the strange presence by the fuel pump. At sunrise, the figure suddenly turned and walked away, disappearing into the early morning mist. I sighed with relief, thankful that the eerie encounter was finally over. But I couldn't forget the inexplicable event that had unfolded before me. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious stranger. Who were they? What were they doing at the gas station in the middle of the night? And why did they seem so detached from the world around them? I shared my encounter with friends and family, hoping for some logical explanation, but everyone seemed as perplexed as I was. Some suggested it might have been a prank, while others believed it was just a lost soul seeking shelter for the night. But deep down, I knew it was something more, something beyond comprehension. The gas station continued to operate as usual, and the strange figure never returned. But the chilling encounter stayed with me, forever etched in my memory. Sometimes, late at night, as I looked out into the darkness, I wondered if the mysterious stranger was still out there, watching, waiting for something unknown. In the end, the unexplainable event left me with more questions than answers. Perhaps it was a reminder that in the vastness of the universe, there were mysteries that defied explanation, leaving us to perceive them in our own manner, a chilling reminder that sometimes, reality is far stranger than anything we can imagine. Working the night shift at a remote gas station was nothing like I imagined it would be. When I took the job, I thought it would be a quiet, uneventful way to earn some extra cash while studying for my degree. Little did I know that one chilling encounter would forever change my perspective on the graveyard shift. My name is Alex, and I've been the night shift caretaker at the gas station for about 6 months now. Nestled along a desolate highway, the station served as a beacon for weary travelers and truckers making their long journeys through the darkened roads. My duties included manning the counter, restocking shelves, and keeping the station tidy. One moonlit night, the clock struck midnight, and a chill ran down my spine as I stepped outside to take a break. The wind howled through the deserted parking lot, and the distant hum of passing cars provided a haunting soundtrack to the night. I took a sip of coffee, trying to stay warm as I gazed out into the darkness. As I looked down the highway, a figure caught my eye. It was a lone hitchhiker, standing on the shoulder with his thumb outstretched. I watched him curiously, wondering why someone would be hitchhiking at this hour in such an isolated area. The practical side of me urged caution. It wasn't safe to pick up strangers, especially on a desolate road at night. However, something about the hitchhiker seemed off. He stood unnaturally still, almost like a statue. I strained my eyes, trying to get a clearer look at his face, but the darkness obscured his features. The thought of someone stranded in the cold made me feel guilty, but my gut told me to stay put. As the minutes passed, I noticed a strange pattern. Every time a car approached the hitchhiker, he took a step back, retreating further into the shadows. It was as if he didn't want to be seen. My curiosity turned to suspicion, and I decided to call the local police to report the hitchhiker's presence. Hello, this is Alex from the gas station on Route 66. I wanted to report a hitchhiker standing by the highway. He's acting suspiciously, I said to the dispatcher. We'll send an officer to check it out, the dispatcher replied. I felt a sense of relief knowing that help was on the way. As I returned inside the station, I kept an eye on the hitchhiker through the security cameras. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, and I anxiously waited for the police to arrive. Finally, a police car pulled into the station, and an officer stepped out. I hurried to greet him, explaining the situation and pointing out the hitchhiker's location. The officer nodded and radioed for backup before approaching the man cautiously. I watched the encounter unfold on the security camera feed. The officer asked the hitchhiker a few questions, but the man seemed evasive, providing vague answers. I couldn't hear the conversation, but the hitchhiker's body language spoke volumes. He was tense, fidgety, and avoided making eye contact. More officers arrived, and they began searching the hitchhiker's belongings. As they did, I saw the hitchhiker take another step back, inching closer to the darkness that surrounded him. It was as if he was trying to escape, sensing that the walls were closing in. My heart raced, and I held my breath as the officers discovered something peculiar among the man's belongings, a knife, concealed in a hidden pocket. The tension in the air intensified, and the officers kept a close eye on the hitchhiker. Suddenly, the man made a dash for the nearby woods, disappearing into the darkness before the officers could catch him. A chase ensued, but the hitchhiker's familiarity with the area gave him the upper hand. He vanished into the night, leaving the officers with nothing but a chilling encounter. As the police searched the woods, they found a makeshift campsite where the hitchhiker had been living. It was clear that he had been hiding out there for some time, likely avoiding detection and contact with others. The knife, along with other suspicious items, raised concerns about his intentions. The police thanked me for reporting the hitchhiker and assured me that they would continue their search. However, they warned me to remain vigilant and to report any suspicious activity in the future. I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered after the encounter. The rest of the night passed without incident, but I couldn't stop thinking about the chilling encounter with the hitchhiker. What were his intentions? Why was he lurking in the shadows, avoiding any interaction with passing cars? Was he dangerous, or was he simply trying to escape from something? As the days turned into weeks, the hitchhiker remained at large, and my unease grew. I became more cautious during my night shifts, constantly checking the security cameras and keeping the phone close by in case I needed to call for help. The experience had left a profound impact on me, and I couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and gratitude. Fear for the unknown dangers that lurked in the darkness and gratitude for the timely intervention of the police. To this day, I continue to work the night shift at the gas station, but I'm no longer oblivious to the potential dangers that come with the job. The chilling encounter with the hitchhiker taught me a valuable lesson, that the night is not as tranquil as it seems, and there's often more than meets the eye in the shadows of the darkened highway.